Hello and welcome back to more Pokemon Ultra Sun and Moon How to Competitive. In this episode, we are going to be talking about quick EXP leveling. Now, if there's one thing that we know in general from Pokemon is that the grind can sometimes be a little bit difficult, and especially we have, in 7th generation was introduced the method of hyper training. So if you have a Pokemon that does not have perfect IVs all around, you can go in and hyper train them to doesn't technically raise the IVs, but it raises the Pokemon's stats to what they would be if they had perfect IVs. And so we're going to take a look, just so we can refresh our memories. I'm going to take a look at this Absol, for example. This Absol has 4 perfect IVs, and the other 2 are okay. Now, in this Absol's case, if I were to make a competitive set, as you can see, it is a Jolly nature, so it's not going to be a special attacker. We really don't need maximum IVs in special attack, but we would like maximum IVs in physical attack. So we would want to train this Pokemon to level 100 and go ahead and give it a bottle cap to hyper train it. If you are not sure how hyper training works, you can go and check out in my Pokemon Sun and Moon How to Competitive series. You can go and find the playlist. I'll link it in the description probably, or in an annotation at the end of the video. But you can go ahead and find it and see how hyper training works there. But the thing that pertains to us here in this episode is that we need our Pokemon to be at level 100 in order to hyper train them. And in general, that is a difficult, long-winded thing to accomplish. Now, I'm going to show you this one method. I wouldn't say it's a perfect method, but I'd say it's a pretty good method. And put it this way, just yesterday, this pincer was at level 48 or something, and by practicing this method, I did get it's at level 82 already, just from doing a couple rounds of this method that we're going to do. Now, another thing I want to make a note of before we start this method is that this Absol, in particular, it was bred, like, to be a competitive Absol, but I did not EV train it. We can see right here, if I go into the summary and press the Y button, we see this, the hexagon right there doesn't have any EVs. Like, for instance, we can see with this pincer, I didn't EV train this pincer either. This is just a in-game pincer that I caught that has the moves that I want for this particular exercise. You can see how the pincer, from this very method that we did, got maxed out in HP EVs. So anyway, normally when you would do this leveling method, if you're doing it for competitive purposes, trying to get your Pokemon to level 100, I would recommend that you EV train them first. So, if you're not sure about how EV training works, you can go again into my Sun and Moon How to Competitive series and look at the SOS method for EV training. Now, there is one difference in SOS chaining from Sun and Moon to Ultra Sun and Moon, but because this EXP method involves SOS chaining, I will cover that, so don't worry about that. Also, you'll notice the Absol has the Lucky Egg to help us out. If you don't have a Lucky Egg, well, this will also explain how to get a Lucky Egg, because we're gonna kill 2 birds with 1 stone here, and get ourselves leveled up and get ourselves a Lucky Egg at the same time. But now, other things to keep in mind, if you are not using a traded Pokemon and you still want to get boosted EXP and you don't have a Lucky Egg, we can go into Pokemon Refresh. I won't give a whole tutorial on how Pokemon Refresh works, but basically what's relevant here is that you can, by playing with your Pokemon, you can give them more affection. So as you can see, this Absol has 1 heart in affection. If I can get it to 2 hearts, then it will gain I believe it's a 20% boost in EXP. And this does stack with the Lucky Egg, which the Lucky Egg multiplies the amount of experience the Pokemon gets by 1.5. So with those 2 together, you can really increase the amount of EXP you gain. Now, I don't think I'm going to get this Absol to 2 hearts, but I'm going to try it, because that would help in my demonstration here. But if not, it's okay. Yeah, it would have told me if it leveled up, because right now, if we look, the Absol is at fullness and full enjoyment, so we have to wait for those to go down before we can increase their hearts. So we're not going to get boosted EXP from Pokemon Refresh, but there's a quick mention that you can, if you're trying to level up your Pokemon, you can use Pokemon Refresh to give yourself boosted EXP in that way. But we're just going to deal with what we have. We have the Lucky Egg on Absol, and again, this method is, we're going to get another lucky egg, potentially, and we're going to get a lot of experience this way. So the reason I have this Pinsir as my Pokemon of choice here is, it doesn't have to be Pinsir, of course. You can have any Pokemon that can learn False Swipe. That will help you, again, if we remember, with the SOS chaining from the EV training episode. We need a Pokemon with False Swipe. I think I used a Tapu Lele, which had Nature's Madness to cut in half, and that was not the most ideal method. I forget, I had a Scyther in one episode, I think, and I had a Tapu Lele in another. I know a lot of people gave me grief for using Nature's Madness because it doesn't work as fast, but it just is what it is. But basically, any move you have, that is guaranteed to not KO the Pokemon. So in this case, I have False Swipe. The other reason that I have Pinsir is that Pinsir can learn Thief, and Thief is going to help us in getting the lucky egg, because if you haven't guessed already, we are going to be chaining against Chansey and Blissey, which offer a large amount of EXP, probably the largest that we can get from anything that we can chain. I know you can find Audino through the Ultra Wormholes, but you cannot SOS chain them. So anyway, but that's why I have Pinsir. If you want to choose a different Pokemon, having a Pokemon that knows Taunt might be good. I think Absol itself would actually be a good choice. I think it gets access to False Swipe, Thief, and Taunt. The Taunt would be helpful against Chansey and Blissey because they have Heal Pulse, but we're gonna use this Pinsir, but just keep in mind there are multiple options. And for this in particular, the only necessary things, if you want to get the EXP and you want to get a lucky egg, you want to have Thief and False Swipe on this Pokemon. Also, the Pinsir will have Pinsir will not be holding an item so that you can steal the item, because that's how Thief works. And then the two last things we need to take care of is we need to make sure we have an Adrenaline Orb. You need at least one Adrenaline Orb. I recommend having multiple, and I'll explain why when we get there. One Adrenaline Orb, at least, and you want the EXP share to be turned on. Off, when it says off there, that means it's turned on because it gives you the option to turn it off. So anyway, what we're going to do now is we want to be on Pony Island, which I am right now, but we're going to fly. We want to get to, I think it's Pony Grove over here. Now, unfortunately, I think the closest place we can fly is over here, the Ancient Pony Path. So we're going to fly over there. It's going to take me a moment to walk over, but I won't skip it so you guys can see the exact path to take. I'm going to try to avoid any wild encounters or anything, which is why I might jump off Tauros. I don't want to use Repel though, so I don't have to so that I don't have to run around and wait for the. Well, I guess the Repel wouldn't matter because you'll see we're going to do we get Chansey through one of the Shaking Tree or Shaking Bush encounters over in Pony Grove, and I'll show you that when we get there. But in the meantime, this is the path. Again, this is post-game. Well, I didn't mention this before. This is a post-game only place you can go, and Pony Grove is going to be up ahead right here. So what we want to do is look for these Shaking Bushes. I believe there are 2 of them in this area that could be a Chansey, and if we walk in front of them, we have, I think it's a 20% chance to run into a Chansey. So let's see, do we get lucky? Nope, it's a Scyther. So, we have another bush to try, and if it's not a Chansey, we can just exit Pony Grove the way we came and come back in until we run into a Chansey. So we're gonna see, let's see if we get lucky and we do it right away, or let's see if I'm gonna have to skip ahead a little bit. I'll show you guys if I have to, resetting one time, just so you can see how it works. And it's another Scyther. Okay, so I'll show you real quick what I mean by just exit the area and come back so you can see that the trees start shaking again. But we're gonna get over here and run away. Oh, also another note, this process, it's not a perfect process. Like, some of you might prefer, for example, grinding against the Elite Four, for instance, because then you get money and EXP at the same time. But that's a little bit tedious as well because you have to deal with the dialogue from the Elite Four members and you have to do the whole champion battle and everything. So there's not necessarily a perfect... Oh, there's a Chansey. Perfect. Alright. There's not exactly a perfect method to doing this. This is one method, though. If you have elixirs and Roto PP boosts, you can stay in this for a long time, as long as you, at some point, when you're chaining the Chansey, at some point you need to swap which Chansey you're training so it doesn't struggle itself to death. But anyway, so we can see we're not going to use Thief on the Chansey because when they're holding an item, it's usually a Lucky Punch. We're going to be using Thief when a Blissey shows up, but we'll get to that in a moment. So right now, to get the SOS battle starting, the way that the mechanics were changed in Ultra Sun and Moon is that a wild Pokemon has a chance to call for help one time. I don't know if it's call for help one time or successfully call for help one time in the battle without the aid of an Adrenaline Orb. The Chansey happened to not call for help this time, but the Chansey could have called for help once without the Adrenaline Orb. Once they call for help one time, they will not call for help again until you use an Adrenaline Orb, whereas in Sun and Moon, there was always a chance that they would keep calling for help, but we wanted to use an Adrenaline Orb anyway to up the chances. But we're going to go ahead and use the Adrenaline Orb. As you can see, obviously, I used False Swipe on the Chansey, and this Chansey is not being good to me because it's still not calling for help. We're going to go ahead and use Adrenaline Orb again. A couple things you can do to help you out. If you have Pokemon that know certain abilities, I think Intimidate is one of them, and I think maybe Pressure, which would also make Absol a really good Pokemon for this technique. It will increase the chance that the Pokemon will call for help. But again, we see Chansey call for help, nothing happened. So what I'm doing is I'm going into the menu and I'm just using an Adrenaline Orb again. You could use False Swipe again, but that'll just waste your PP in case you need to switch which Pokemon you're targeting. So you don't necessarily want to waste your PP on False Swipe. So using an Adrenaline Orb again, it doesn't use up the Adrenaline Orb, it just has no effect. You can do that forever while you're trying to stall. So now we can see that this Chansey called for help. And now I'm just going to use any of my moves to take it out. I'm not going to use Thief, just in case I grab a Lucky Punch, because I'm waiting for a Blissey to show up where I can try to steal, potentially, a Lucky Egg. It won't always be holding a Lucky Egg, but, you know, there's a chance. So Absol, this first time around, is gonna gain a lot of levels. And, but again, because this process is still long and drawn out, so I'm not going to stick around until this Absol is actually at level 100. But I'm gonna do it for a little while. At the very least, do I want to learn Pursuit? Sure. I'm gonna hang around until at least I find a Blissey with a Lucky Egg. That's gonna be my goal. But basically, I'll explain. If you want to keep going, and sure, learn Taunt as well. Basically, I'm going to keep going until that happens, and you can just kind of get a feel. You can keep this going pretty much indefinitely, as long as you have Elixirs, Roto PP Restores, and as long as you continue switching up which Chansey you're targeting, so that the Chansey does not struggle itself to death. As you can see, we are at level 20 already from one Chansey with Lucky Egg boosted experience points. So imagine if you combined this with, if it was a traded Pokemon, and if you combined it with 2 Hearts of Affection from Pokemon Refresh. This is a Chansey. We're gonna get a lot more EXP when we finally get a Blissey. I don't know why I'm teaching. I don't have to bother teaching this Pokemon moves. Also, another thing I could have done, which maybe I'll show you when I finish this battle, is I could have turned battle animations off. That'll make things run a little bit quicker, although to be honest, we won't be seeing a lot of attack animations anyway. As for the chance that a Blissey will be called, I don't know the exact percentage that the Chansey will call a Blissey, but I'll put it this way, I've done this a few times and run into several Blisseys. In fact, one time it was the first thing that was called. So there's a reasonable chance of running into a Blissey through this. And again, if the Chansey doesn't call for, if the Chansey calls for help and nobody comes, or if it doesn't call for help, just waste a turn. Oh look, there's a Blissey. Alright, so we're gonna find out if this thing has a Lucky Egg. We're gonna go ahead and use Thief on it. It did not have a Lucky Egg, but now this is where having a Pokemon like Absol that has Taunt would come in handy, because these Pokemon know Heal Pulse. Now, this is also a good reason to not waste your PP on False Swipe, because you'll want to False Swipe this Chansey down again to have a maximum chance of it calling for help. Now, I could take out the Chansey and leave the Blissey at low health, but I will not, because that will instantly end your SOS chain, because only Chansey will call for help. Blissey will not call for help. So if you want to swap out which Pokemon you're targeting so that the Chansey doesn't struggle itself to death, Don't switch out to a Blissey. Only switch to a Chansey, otherwise it won't call for help anymore. That's clear. So, alright, I'm going to use another Brick Break on get the Blissey. And then the next turn I'm going to False Swipe again on the Chansey, unless the Chansey calls for help again this turn, but it will be less likely to. But as you can see, we're already at level 31. We've KO'd 3 or 4 Pokemon, maybe? So, we're doing pretty well so far. We're almost halfway to level 100 already. Of course, as the Pokemon gets higher leveled, it's going to take more experience to level it up, so the EXP gain will slow down a good bit. Once you get past level 50, it slows down a good bit. But this is still a decent method. At the very least, if you want to use the Elite Four method, this is a good way to get your Pokemon in a good head start. This is also a good method. Let's say you already bred a perfect Pokemon with perfect IVs, and you don't want to Hyper Train it necessarily, but you just want to get it to level 50 quickly. This will accomplish that very easily. So we got another Chansey, and again, I'm going to try and hold out with this method until we run into a Blissey that has a Lucky Egg, just to show you that we can farm Lucky Eggs that way. I believe I have now 2 Lucky Eggs from doing this method, and you can get more. So imagine if you get, let's say you get 5 Lucky Eggs, you could have a team of 5 newly hatched or EV-trained Pokemon, and give them each a Lucky Egg and just level them up this way. It's a pretty solid thing. I mean, it's still going to take a lot of sitting around and kind of mindless battling, but it is what it is. We're gonna stick around for a few more turns. We'll see how long it takes to get this Absol to level 50. But as you can see, basically with every KO, I'm gaining at least 2 levels. In this case, 2 levels exactly. So you can start to see the EXP gain, the level gain, start to slow down a little bit. And there's another Chansey. So, actually, let me demonstrate this, because the Chansey over there is not very low on PP yet, but I can demonstrate how we switch who we're targeting. We're gonna KO this Chansey, and then going to get the other Chansey down to low health, just to demonstrate. I don't know exactly, we can look up exactly what moves Chansey's gonna have at this level. I think it's Light Screen, Egg Bomb, Heal Pulse, and Fling. Those are the 4 that it would have. I don't know off the top of my head the exact PP counts for each of those, but you can kind of keep track if you want. When you think Chansey's starting to get low, when Chansey's starting to get low, you can kind of switch off. And as you can see, the new Chansey is going to call for help. Once again, I can't stress this enough, the Blissey will not call for help, so keep that in mind. Okay, so I think I'm going to skip ahead a little bit. Well, let's actually see what level is Absol at right now, because I think I'll skip ahead in the video a little bit until we get to a Blissey that has a Lucky Egg. If this next one isn't a Blissey. Alright, it's still a Chansey. Okay, so I'm gonna cut away for a little bit, and I'll be back when either maybe something happens, but we'll probably run into a Blissey with Lucky Egg before this Chansey struggles itself. So I'll be back when that happens. Okay, well, as you can see, I just made a misclick there. I found the Blissey, I went to use Thief, and I accidentally targeted the Chansey. So now, okay, and the Blissey went for Fling. So it does not have a Lucky Egg, because Fling throws their held item at them. So, alright, this Blissey did not have any held item. So, if it did, this is why as soon as the Blissey appears, you want to use Thief, because it has a chance to fling its held item at you. So what I'm gonna do here, I'm gonna try and actually get a Lucky Egg, but first I'm gonna go into the options and I'm gonna show you how you can turn off battle animations, its battle effects over here. Turn them off and press A. So I'm gonna try and get into another one of these battles. I'm not even gonna bother healing because I really wasn't that far into the battle with everything. So let's see, if this isn't a Chansey, it's not a Chansey. Alright, so I'm gonna get myself into another SOS battle with Chansey, and I will pick up where we left off, and we will cut to where I find a Blissey with a lucky egg. But first, let me show you real quick. In this one battle, I got this Absol from level 1 to level 43. So not too shabby, especially if you're only going up to level 50. It's a really solid method. But we're gonna try. I'm gonna try for you guys to get ourselves another Blissey with a lucky egg. But now that you know the technique, you can pretty much start applying it yourself. But I just want to do it to prove to you that we can get the lucky egg off of Blissey. So I'll be right back. Okay, so I'm here, and actually, of course, I think it's like the Let's Play curse. I'm having a hard time getting Blissey to show up, whereas I don't remember having that big of a problem with it. But we're at this point where I still haven't found a lucky egg, and my other moves to KO Chansey are out of PP. I could go for Thief, but because I don't want to accidentally grab a Lucky Punch and then not be able to grab a lucky egg later, I'm gonna go ahead and use a PP Restore now. I think in this case I'll use the Rotom one, because I have plenty of those. So I'm gonna go ahead and use the Roto PP Restore. Restores all your moves PP. And then, there we go. We're back to square one. So I'm gonna cut away again, and I will be back when we finally get that Blissey.
One eternity later.
Okay guys, I have a confession to make. These Chansey and Blissey have forced my hand a bit because I recorded a little too close up to when I have to be somewhere, and I'm already late to do the next thing. Oh, it's another Blissey. I'm just about to give up, but let's see if this Blissey has the lucky egg. Nope. Okay, so I had to look it up because I don't remember having this much trouble earlier, but I never actually looked up the percentage of lucky egg. I assumed it was rare, but a Blissey only has a 5% chance to hold a lucky egg, and given the fact that it's not always called in an SOS battle anyway, I'm already late to be where I need to be next. So I think I'm just gonna finish the battle now, and you'll just have to take my word for it. Keep doing that method though until you run into a Blissey. Let's play curse. I'm having really bad luck finding myself that Blissey, but the Blissey with lucky egg. But trust me, it does work, and in still less than an hour. In less than an hour, wrong button. In less than an hour of training, I have gotten this Absol from level 1 to level 64. And keep in mind, I've been recording for about 53 minutes. I was not using all of that time with battling, because remember I spent a whole maybe 10 minutes worth of explaining. I had to take a phone call in the middle of it, so it was probably more like 40 minutes, 30 minutes to get that much experience, and that was the main goal of this episode anyway. It was not necessarily to go lucky egg hunting, but trust me, you can get lucky eggs that way. You just have to get pretty lucky. But I have to get going for now. The next video that I want to do, hopefully it's the next one that comes out, will be on shiny hunting using the ultra wormholes. It might take me a while to successfully record to show it off to you, but I do have a method for that and for getting the nature you want from a shiny Pokemon. So that's going to be the next video, hopefully. I don't know when it'll come out, but thank you guys so much for watching for now. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. I will see you next time for more Pokemon Ultra Sun and Moon How To Competitive.